Hey everyone, welcome back. In our last video, we learned how to do our first setup where we machined and manufactured our medallion here. Well, in this video, we're going to start our second setup and remove the rest of the material that's located underneath our medallion. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to come on up here and start a new design. We're going to go ahead now and save it as Medallion Setup 2. We're going to come on over here and we're going to show our data panel, and we're going to right click, and we are going to, you should have downloaded and uploaded this file into Fusion 360. It's the Kurt Weiss plus the Medallion Softjaws file, and we're going to go ahead now and right click and insert into current design. And I'm just going to sort of rotate it 90 degrees, hit OK. Okay. And now we're going to use the medallion that we did in our previous video. We're going to right click on that guy and we're going to insert it into our current design. Okay, and I'm going to move it over into place here. And remember, we're doing the second setup, so we want the face of our medallion facing downwards so that it's touching our soft jaws. So we're going to, let's see here, let's go ahead and rotate it that way. And now we need to rotate it 90 degrees in this direction. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And now we need to assemble it into our soft jaws using a rigid constraint. So to do that, come on up here to assemble, go to joint, and make sure you are selecting the rigid joint here. And now we need to find two corresponding points that match up. Okay, so I know that this tip of this medallion right here corresponds or matches up to this location right here, or point. Okay, go ahead and select OK. Alright, so now that we have our medallion in place in the soft jaws, we can go ahead and start our second setup. So let's come on over here and change our workspace now to manufacture. I'm going to hide my data panel. Alright, so let's go ahead and start our second setup. Come on over here to setups, and we're going to do a new setup. And we're first going to identify our model that we want to machine and manufacture, which is our medallion. Okay, then we're going to come on over here to origin. We're going to select selected point, and we're going to select our boring hole in our soft jaws right there. Okay, and now we need to change our X, Y, and Z our work coordinate system here so that they're pointing in the right direction. So imagine you're standing in front of your vise in your machine. Remember, we need our X, our positive X, to go to the right, our positive Y to point away from us, and our positive Z to point up. So we can come on over here to orientation, and let's go ahead now and select our X and Y axes. So it's saying, hey, your X axis, which one is it? Well, this line right here would make a good X axis. And now it's saying, hey, go ahead and select your Y axis. And this line right here will make a good Y axis. But we need our Z now to point upwards and our Y to point the other way. So let's go ahead now and flip our Y axis because we want our positive Y to point away from us, not towards us. So check that box, and now we're good. Everything looks right. Now let's set our stock size. So change your mode here to fixed size box. Our width here, okay, for our X should be 3 inches. Our depth for Y, let's set that to 3.4 inches, just like we did last time. And our height now is not 0.5, it's going to be 0.375. But remember, with our facing operation in our last setup, we shaved off 0.02 inches. So we need to set this to 0.355 because that's the thickness now. Okay, let's go ahead now and select OK. I'm going to come on over here and I'm just going to change our setup 1 now to setup 2 and hit enter. And then go ahead and save that guy. So now let's go ahead and start our first operation. And you're probably thinking, oh, we're just going to go do a facing operation. But This time we're actually going to do a 2D adaptive operation first. And the reason is because we have these corners that are protruding out and sticking out really far from our brass stock material here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do a 2D adaptive to sort of remove some of this material that's sticking far out, because when you're doing a facing operation first, sometimes these edges that protrude out can create really large chips and shoot off in all directions and could potentially damage your probes, your glass, your machine, or anything. So we're going to we're going to do a 2D operation first to sort of remove these big corners here that are sticking out. So let's come on up, select 2D adaptive clearing. We need to select our tool now, and we're going to come over to our tool library. We're going to use our 1/2 inch 3 flute end mill here. We're going to select that guy, set our coolant to flood. Our spindle speed is going to be 5,000. Our cutting feed rate is going to be 30. Okay, all of our other default values are fine. And for our geometry, we just want to click on that outer perimeter on the top though. Okay, and we're going to come over to passes now. We're going to set our optimal load to 0.1 again, so that about 20% of our tool is engaged. Okay, and then we are going to select, make sure you check, stock to leave. For our radial stock, now this is important, for our radial stock, we're going to leave not 0.01 or 0.02, 0.1, okay? Because remember, the goal of this operation is just to remove the material that's sort of protruding out along these edges, okay? And then for our axial stock, all right, we're just going to set our axial stock now to 0, okay? And that should do it. Oh, go ahead and check smoothing and select OK. And there you have it. Okay. Those corners have been safely neutralized. All right, and now we can start our facing operation. So let's come on up to 2D facing operation. Okay, and we're going to change our tool now to our facing mill. So let's select our Medallion tool library, select our 2.5 inch face mill that we always select. Okay, and for our facing operation, we're going to set our spindle speed now to 4,000 and our cutting feed rate now to 20. Okay, and let's see here. All of our other default values are fine. For our geometry tab now, we're just going to select this guy right here. Okay, and then for our passes tab, okay, let's use a pass extension like we used in our first setup of 1 inch. Okay, and a stock offset now, again, of 0.5 inches. But this time we need to check multiple depths, so let's go ahead and do that. And we're going to set our maximum step down here to 0.06 inches, okay? And what that's going to do is it's going to remove this top portion of material in successive layers. So each depth or layer, it's going to cut or remove 0.06 inches of material, okay? So that looks good. Let's go ahead and select OK, and you should end up with the following toolpath. All right, and for our final toolpath, we want to go ahead and do another deburring operation to remove those jagged edges along the outer edge in this inner portion here of our medallion. So let's come on up, let's do a 2D contour. Okay, we're going to change our tool now, and we're going to grab the 1/4 inch chamfer here from our tool library. All right, and go ahead and select that guy. And we're going to set our coolant to flood. Our spindle speed is going to be 3,000, and our cutting feed rate is going to be 20 inches per minute. Okay, and for our geometry tab now, we want to, like I said, we want to deburr that edge, and we want to deburr the outer edge here. Okay, and then finally for our passes tab, make sure chamfer is checked. We're going to set our chamfer width. It's going to be a really tiny chamfer of 0.01 inches. And we're going to offset our tip a distance of 0.02 inches. Okay, go ahead and select OK. And there you go. Okay, your medallion is complete, both your first and your second setup. Okay, when you are finished, click on your setup, run your simulation, and make sure everything looks good. So remember, we removed those protruding edges with a 2D adaptive, okay? And then after our 2D adaptive came through, okay, we then came through with our facing operation. Okay, 2 passes. And then we did a deburring pass along the outer edge here. Okay, looks pretty good. When you're done, check your overall machining time. You should have a machining time of 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Okay, all right. And that'll do it for your medallion in this video. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.